Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I am Nerdarchist Ted, and tonight we're going to play some Dungeons and Dragons. But before we get into it, there is some business to wrap up. First and foremost, if you look up in the corner over here, you're going to see it say Easy Roller Dice. This game is sponsored by the wonderful people over there. They got great dice. Go check out all of the options. You can look down in the description below. Not only will you find an awesome promo code for your first order with them, but this is where you'll also find a link to all of the stuff of where you'll find these people when they're not over here on our channel. Now, it's been a while since we've done this, so I'm going to implore our illustrious game master that when we get to it, that we get a little bit of a recap of where we are in the story. But we also had our lovely sponsor decide that they're going to do a giveaway for this. There was a whole form fill out and all of that jazz to win. I got a couple of bags of Easy Roller Dice product. There is dice jails with the one package. Um, there is a dice jail and a dice case that says shiny, sparkly math rocks. We had done a whole thing to kind of boost some things. So did all of the rigmarole, and our lucky winners are Brendan McLeod and Karen Costanzo. So I have your emails. I've removed all of the information from the Google form so that people can't, go and, you know, try and spam your addresses with everything. So I'll get them contacted and get that stuff sent out to you. So show some love to Easy Roller Dice, say thank you for all of that stuff. Give these people, some love. And with that, I'm going to toss it over to you, Robin.
All right, so first of all, this game features PCs struggling with things like alcoholism and thoughts of self-harm. If you're in a bad place for that kind of thing, no one will think less of you for skipping this one or coming back to it later when you're in a better one for it. Salutations, nerds. Welcome to the Old Guard. All of the characters in this game are older adventurers coming back for one last hurrah after the death of Treston's daughter, Serapeth, also called Serendipity by most. So as for the recap, ordinarily I would throw that to one of you to do, but it has been like 2 months since we played, so I will just go ahead and talk at you for a minute. But last time, if I'm not mistaken, there was an issue with an apartment complex that was just being overrun by cockroaches, and it was one of Treston's kids that lived there and just asked him to come take care of it. And of course, he's thinking like, yeah, this is gonna be, just some roaches, and she's overreacting. She wasn't overreacting. It was like so many roaches you couldn't see the floor, and there was definitely some cult stuff going on in the basement. And you guys ended that on the note of finding out that Serapeth, biologically speaking, was a member of one of the older houses that once ruled the city-state. House Theliac, the House of the Mantis. That said, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, it is traditional to start with our producer, Jake.
Hey, Internet, it's Jake from. That is where you can find me when I'm. I don't think my mic is coming.
Oh no.
I'm here. So.
I know you can hear me there, but I'll just talk directly and troubleshoot it. Hey, Internet, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and that's where you can. We stream on Twitch.tv. Have a Pathfinder 2 or at 8 p.m. Every other 5e game called Sky Metal Iron God. And then you can head along with some other friends on Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Our Kids on Bikes welcome Paradise Academy. They're all going, and it's having all the things. A paranormal town in. So with that, I'm going to turn it. I try to figure out what's going on with my mic.
All right. Well, I am Asa with Roll for Mischief. We stream on Twitch on Tuesdays from noon until 3 Pacific time. And because I'm lazy, just adjust that in your own time zone. Um, yeah, so we played yesterday for the first time in about 2 months. So that was pretty great. And I didn't have to DM, which was even better. You've already heard a lot about my character. I'm playing Tristan Marcos. They are the dwarven artificer, and their daughter's death seems to be the catalyst of all of this re-adventuring that we've been doing. Um, and that's all I got to say on them. So I guess that just leaves Ted.
All right, I'll take it. So we are down a couple of players tonight, though there is the possibility of one of them joining us late. We'll see whether they decide to show up or not. But for the meanwhile, I am playing Gelthor Aravel. He is a tiefling cleric, newly restored to his powers after he spent years of not being able to hear anything from his deity. Um, Related to that, I am the one who is, suffering from alcoholism. I'm only a handful of days sober at this point in time, so I am, self-dealing or self-appointed, problems and mechanical adjustments. So it'll be a lot of fun. Back to you, Robin.
All right. So the time is early evening. The sky has been stained shades of deep violet and violent pink. There are a few clouds that linger around the horizon, but for the most part, things are very clear, and it is at the hour where the shadows stretch long and resemble the twiggy limbs of insects as you walk along the dock toward the Tipsy Flagon, which I will remind for those of you who do know and inform for those of you who don't. It is a bar that is made out of a boat, and it is still floating on the water, though whether or not she is completely seaworthy is kind of up in the air. And it is also the frequent meeting place of our party members. So what I want you to do is tell me what you guys have been up to all day, and then we'll get you started at your usual table where a pitcher of water is sitting out for you already.
All right, I'll take it, and I'm gonna say that much of my day has been a little bit of back and forth between trying to force myself to do normal things, still continue to assist with whatever menial jobs that I've been doing to eke out the sour portion of life that I have, and spent hurling and dealing with a massive migraine in not giving into my body's desires.
Let's go in reverse order this time. Tristan, what have you been doing?
I've been trying to figure that out. I think that's a good way to put it. Tristan has been trying to figure it out. I think for the start, I've been doing some research into the high houses. I'm starting to get the feeling that um, Serapeth got herself into something deeper than just adventuring shenanigans. I think we already sort of had hints at that with a few other contacts we had made, but
Well, I will throw this out there, Asa. Having traveled with Gelthor all those times ago, and I believe you're a smart cookie being an artificer. You would know not only was I a student of history back in the day, I believe.
Okay. I think.
So it doesn't look like anything's moving here just yet.
Yep, we're good. I was watching. I did a head scratch, and I was watching for it so I could make sure that it was actually showing up. If somebody in the chat could let us know that you can hear us and see us again, you may have to refresh, and maybe put that in the chat too.
I'll also know here in a moment.
Okay, good. Sean James has mentioned we have
yeah.
liftoff.
Okay.
We have liftoff. Woo!
So
Apologies about that. Find friends on the internet. Technological difficulties happen every so often, even to the best of us. And, we're certainly not the best. So, MTD is our producer, was able to figure out what the problem was and get us back on the air. So thanks, Jake. And let's get back into the action.
I also thanks Sean for pointing that out to us, and congratulations on your new place.
Yeah.
I believe we left off on Raziel. What have you been doing today?
Oh, so I think the wherever Gelthor is, I believe we were at the tavern again.
Yep.
I'm sort of doing what I've been doing a lot of lately, which is watching over Gelthor to make sure he doesn't fall off the wagon. Without looking like I'm watching over Gelthor to make sure he doesn't fall off the wagon. And the way I'm doing that is after our foray into the apartment building and the cockroaches and all that, I am using my dagger to scrape cockroach off of the treads of my boots, off of my sword, anywhere that stuff is. That's just cleaning the cockroach off my stuff while keeping an eye on Gelthor.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that took you all quite a while, unless you have prestidigitation. So, all right, you guys are sitting at a table in the tipsy flagon, and you can sort of like feel it gently rocking at this point. That's become sort of like a mantra for you. But there is a pitcher of ice water on the table. You each have a cup, and you've got all the privacy that you need in the room that you usually meet up in to talk about this.
Right. So Gelthor, I've been doing a bit of reading, and what do you know about the House of the Mantis?
Mantis. What does Gelthor specifically know? Is it what's in the chat? Or would he know more than that?
All right, so you know everything that's in the chat, but you in particular also know that they had a tendency to guard their interests very thoroughly. To the point that it was rumored they had sent assassins out on occasion, but no one was ever able to prove it.
Wow, so what does limited time magic mean? Like, do they
So you have seen them personally dial time back on a single object to unbreak a vase or undo an injury. And some of them have been heard bragging that they can stop time for a limited time, but you don't know if that's actually true or not.
So Gelthor kind of like rubs at his head, and he's not looking any better than he has been the last couple of days, but he is doing his best. So he would begin to kind of iterate that they like magic, and they've used magic to occasionally move in time, to either, like, as Robin said, heal wounds or unbreak things, or boasting that some can legitimately stop time, but I don't know uh, whether that's bragging and boasting or actual truth. Let's see here. I'm not proficient in Arcana, so I'm not even certain that that's legitimately possible to just completely stop time. I wish I knew more. And would I know anything about like lineages or if there are any still around? I
Yeah.
am pretty decent at perception and history, so
So you know that House Sadrin still has a large presence in the city because they are still informants to many. They are no longer nobles, but they are still in operation. And there is at least one Kyridos that's still around and like fighting in the arena for cash, but for the most part, they've gone to ground. That there aren't any Theliacs openly around anymore that you know of.
so I mean, if you look into tieflings, we're not very abundant, here within the city. I've heard tell that there's a couple of spider house Hadron or a couple of scorpions, possibly. It's Kyridos that have kind of been lurking under city, or not so much under in a place like this, but you know, trying to remain hidden. Um, but I don't know why anything would be coming up with the mantis. None have been really seen in a while, and as you know, like we've been thrust out. None of the tieflings are really considered noble anymore. It's and he kind of like stops talking, as it clearly is affecting him. Could be the headaches. It could be just the fact that the way life was within our lifetime is totally changed all of it.
The the is it Belzane? Is that how you say the House of the Cockroach?
Belzane.
Belzane, yeah. That wizard person, you seem to know him, the cockroach guy.
Pastor,
Yeah.
you don't ever truly get rid of the cockroaches. Their primary ability is survive, and when we defeated him, he just burst into you know a ridiculous number of bugs and all scurried in different directions. uh i would I would bet all of our lives that he got out of there just fine, and whether we see him again is a whole nother question, but he's alive.
Is there precedent for these houses to be trying to like regain their power, getting
I
back
mean,
to internal conflict or anything like that?
so he, Gelthor again, like he kind of, rubs at his forehead, and you can see the strain that's there. Uh, if you ask anyone who's been ousted of power if they want it back, do you think any are gonna say no?
Yeah, it's fair. I guess I'm looking to rule out if Sarah got caught up in any of this old um I don't know, these grudges and things held from before
So
we.
given my relationship with Serafina, do I have anything knowledge wise that I'm not sure whether her adoptive father would actually have?
Um, you know that she thought she was onto something at the time she turned up dead. She was definitely investigating something, and you're not sure what it was, but you've no
But
doubt it was related.
she was a tiefling, right?
Yes.
Was she linked in any way, shape, or form to one of these houses?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Like that was where we ended last week, was like on the note that she is a scion of House Theliac. She was a scion of the Mantis.
oh, okay, all right. My apologies for not having that part.
Oh no, that's okay.
So given that, if I had to pardon my mantis pun and make a leap, uh, you know, if there were either, a mantis, out there, um, where might I go to look for them? Or from the other direction, if she was caught up in something, were there any houses that had serious problems with celiac that they would want to wipe out, that they're rival enough that they would be looking to kill her?
You know that Sadrin was capable of it. You know that Belzane has reasons to target Theliac. You don't know what those reasons are, but you've definitely seen duels between them before within your lifetime. And to be perfectly honest, there are reasons to point the finger at Agathon no matter what is going on because they're just creepy and that is the reputation that they have. It's just an urge that most people that walked in those circles would have to do. But
So
anybody could have had a reason. It's not like Theliac were particularly good about playing fair with others.
Gelthor, begins kind of mumbling. Sometimes he uses the house name, sometimes he uses the call sign, moth or centipede or what have you. And at first it sounds like he's mumbling and kind of lost into whatever sickness he's dealing with. Until you realize that there's a pattern and he's going through the list mentally and it's taking a little bit of work. And then he kind of, rejoins the conversation. It's probably taken a couple of minutes, but he's like, look, there's reasons for any of the houses to try and take out anyone just to kind of be the last, to bring up old feuds that might still be out there. But if I had to use that, there would be nothing to really go on. So I can't use that. So trying to pour through the data that is useful, I would say that Sadrin, Belzane, or Agathon would probably be the most solid leads if we wanted to chase breadcrumbs through a maze. I think it's the best I can give you. I'm sorry.
Well, your knowledge is appreciated. I know Sarah traveled with some companions. They're at her memorial. I'm sure we could talk with them and get a better idea of what it was she thought she was onto. Jenny seemed
I
to
know
know a thing or two as well.
I know a lot of this is chasing down elements of the past, but did she keep any kind of hidden journal? Was there anything that she might have had that might give us any further clue? Because honestly, and he kind of like crouches over as he's getting nauseous, um but he gains composure. The preparation for dealing with any of these houses is mindset and strategy. It's a conundrum. You have to do something else. Like if you want to go after Belzane, you need something that's gonna cover an area. You need fire. You need uh you know you need magic that's gonna be a bit of a boom. Whereas if you're going after the Agathon, the ant, you're gonna have to be in a much better mindset than I currently am. To that they're known to have mind control powers, and I don't think that I don't think I'd be an advantage to you. I'm not. I'm working on it, but I'm not there yet. And the the Sadrins, they're tricky. They're not going to function the way everybody else does. You know, with wings and the ability to climb, there is nothing that they can't get to. So you have to be prepared for ambushes at any point in time from any angle.
I'm gonna put a hand on Gelthor's shoulder and say, "You say you're not in a frame of mind to be helping much here, but your wisdom and your knowledge about the houses already has been more than helpful, old friend." And
Yeah, and I've had to go through a couple of glasses of water and struggle to keep it all down while doing so.
I could recognize you're going through quite a bit, and you've helped me so much already with my own loss.
Well, I'm not trying in any way, shape, or form to diminish your loss, but
Not at all.
you know, the lot of you are as close to kin as I have, so well, I didn't adopt her. I still considered her kin, and while there weren't uh many for a time that shared her blood, I was able to guide her in ways of my kind or our kind. So there are always connections that are out there, and she was family, so it was a loss to all of us. So
Uh,
if justice need be done, then that's why we're here.
yeah, Tristan takes a moment and you both would know him well enough to see he's feeling a strong emotion but doesn't want to let it show. Um, so kind of leans back into the liquor and falls into a customary silence that goes along with holding back emotions.
So as you drain your glass or your flask, um at first there is this look from Gelthor as is like his eyebrows raise, and like he puts the hand on. I imagine that Raziel is sitting next to him, even though he's being quiet, and he kind of like just grips your shoulder and looks away as you do so.
When the barmaid comes back to offer more drinks, Tristan will hand over the glass and say, "No more for me, thank you."
Um, yeah, she is bringing water. She doesn't bring alcohol back here to this room when you guys are in it. But she will nod and take your glass, see if any of you want anything else. And she's halfway through a sentence when an impact happens at the door of the tavern. And you hear a little bit of a faff outside. And she just, before finding out if there's anything else she can take or not, starts skittering back to see what's going on. What do you do?
So what kind of noise did we hear?
You heard an impact in the door and then footsteps, and now there's some faff going on out there, some shouting. Raziel, you recognize that voice. It's Yorick. The orc that you have watch your house occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
And he's shouting something about let me through.
At the sign of the commotion, I would have quickly stood up anyway to sort of stand at the threshold of the doorway just to see what was going on. And upon hearing Urik's voice, I will head towards the front door and to the barmaid or whoever it is that he's arguing with. It's all right. He's with me.
And as soon as those words leave your mouth, you see the state that he's in. One of his tusks has been broken off at the base, and he is bleeding, like, under his left arm. And he's got his right arm, like, pulled across himself to, like, sort of hold the wound, but it's very clear that he has been beaten quite badly.
Oh, so should we say alas, poor York?
Oh, no, he's not dying. He's just hurt.
Oh,
Sorry, I had to make the reference. I mean, it is
gods.
called Nerdarchy after a while,
Right.
after a reason. So
It is.
Gods, Yurik. What happened to you? Come in here. Quit causing a
No,
commotion.
You don't have time to talk to me right now. You need to get home. They're in your apartment. I tried to and then he drops to a knee.
right.
Gelthor.
I will go. I was already moving, and I will cast heal cure wounds.
And the blood doesn't withdraw, but you do see the wound underneath
Ooh.
close, and he's not coughing quite as hard anymore. But
It
he's
was 11 points of healing.
okay. Yeah, he's still taking a knee and doesn't seem to be in any hurry to get up after having like gotten all the way here with a sucking chest wound.
I will I'll hand a couple coins over to the barmaid and tell her to take care of him. Food, drink until he's ready to move, and then look at Gelthor and Tristan. I gotta go home. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going.
And
Yeah,
I'm
there's
following
like-
right with you.
There's like a folding and readjusting of metal as Tristan, with the gears and winding of his wheelchair begins to stand up as his armor begins to kind of build up around him. Right.
And Mina gives you a serious nod and then just nods to the door for you to go because she understands how quickly this needs to happen. So you are not stopped on the way back to the alley where your apartment is. It's a fairly quick trip, all things considered, but it feels like it takes forever. Every turn feels like it is too long, and everything is far too quiet once you arrive. Everyone that would have ordinarily been outside hawking their wares, even at this hour when it's almost nightfall, is just nowhere to be found. And your door is usually well eclipsed and hidden, and that seems to still be the case right now, except for the fact that the alley itself has been ransacked. The one of the tables that one of your neighbors is usually sitting at selling beads and seashells has been overturned entirely. And on a couple of the nearby walls, you can see some of the biggest praying mantises you've ever seen just clinging there.
Would it be faster to fly or walk there?
It's always faster to fly.
Then I would take flight and get there quicker.
Okay.
Just to, I don't know what's going on, but I'd rather have somebody on scene, as quickly as possible if there's a problem and whatnot. And clearly there is because somebody got hurt.
Yeah, there is a problem. And so if you get there quicker, you will get there in time to see some of the last of them clearing out, but they don't seem to want to stop to talk. Now, you probably could grab one of them, And your choices here are what appears to be some kind of aquatic elf, which was the one that sells the seashells in the alleyway, and
Mhm.
another tiefling, not a
Okay,
noble.
but so people are fleeing, not
Yes.
assailants.
Yes.
Okay, I will try to remember what if I know them, I'll call them out. If I don't, I'll just try to remember their description to give to Raziel
Okay.
as best I can, so that he can identify, so that he can inquire later, because he probably has better rapport with them than some drunk tiefling.
You know that the aquatic elf is named Jelkin, but you don't know anything else about them. And when you call, they do not stop.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't be trying, like, if they're looking like they're running for their life, then I wouldn't try to stop them.
The pair of you get there not too long after. Things are still quiet. Just the aftermath of a massacre. I mean, like, you don't see any blood anywhere. You don't really know that it was a massacre. People could have gotten out, but there's a little blood near where your door is.
So when Raziel shows up, Jelkor and a tiefling ran off in that direction. Um, you know, and I'll step inside.
I'm looking around to see if I see any familiar faces that or see anybody that's hurt in any way, while keeping an eye on moving towards my door.
It's completely deserted. Everyone has run. The only living souls you see are the mantises clinging to the walls.
I will look to Gelthor and Tristan and just point out the mantises as I move to my front door. I'm going to use my my cane and sort of hold it out and kind of push the door open the rest of the way. So kind of a a 5-foot pole, if you will, instead of a 10-foot pole, but just kind of doing that, nudging the door just so I can get a good look. So if somebody's waiting to ambush me, maybe they'll take get a false start thinking I'm coming through.
Well, I stepped in first,
Oh, well then,
so if anyone's getting ambushed, it's gonna be me.
Oh, there's no ambush. There's nobody in the living room. It's been ransacked though. Like, everything is a mess. Tables are turned over. There are broken dishes. And there's more blood in here. Where Yorick got stabbed was almost definitely in this room.
there's another person that's supposed to be here,
Yes, there is.
and I've
You don't see her yet.
me the player has forgotten her name.
Neveress.
Neveress. But that was my thinking when I got here, especially the fact that Yorick would leave and come here. That was what I was looking for, was to see if there was any sign of her not holding out hope because Yorick wouldn't have left her alone.
You do notice that the bathroom door is closed, and you do usually leave it open.
I will point to the door, make sure Gilthor and Tristan see that I'm heading over that way. I'm also, as I'm heading that way, I am looking, just a cursory look to my alcove under the counter, where, well, pretty much all of my wealth is kept in a chest under the floorboards, to see if that's been compromised.
No, it hasn't. Nobody's touched that. There is something missing, but I'm gonna let you tell me what it is.
Okay.
You don't have to tell me right away. You can figure it out
Yeah.
later.
So yeah, I'm going to move up to the bathroom door, and I'm just going to lean in and listen for a moment.
Give me a perception check. Or investigation, your choice.
Let's see. I think they're both the same. Nope, perception's much better. 22.
You hear
Nice.
breathing. Like shallow, scared breathing, but it doesn't sound injured to you.
It's not labored.
I'm
No.
going to put my hand on the door handle. And bracing, sort of the fighter in me is tensing up in case in case I need to react. But I'm still not drawing any weapons or anything except my fists. And I'm going to turn the knob and see if the door will open. Or
It will, and immediately as soon as it does, you have a shower curtain coming at your face. What's your AC?
my AC is 11.
Nice.
What is it?
11.
11. Okay, so you do get hit. You only take 1 point of damage because it is like there is a 17-year-old girl trying to hit you with a shower curtain. It's like it's not really a real weapon. It is just a really freaked out Neveress. And as soon as she realizes it's you, she drops it and like takes a step back and is like, I am so sorry.
Are you all right?
Yeah, they came in and I hid because I thought that's what you would want me to do. Should I have fought them?
You did
Yorick
the right
fought
thing.
them. He got hurt.
You
Is
did
he
the right
okay?
thing. Yurik's fine. Or will be. Did you see them?
Yes.
Get a good look at them.
Yes, there were two of them. They were both tieflings. Kind of purple in skin tone. I think they were both men, but I'm not sure. And one of them dropped something in the kitchen.
I immediately begin moving to the kitchen and start looking.
So, Gelthor, you find like, have you seen The Hunchback of Notre Dame, like the animated movie?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that like woven sort of like teardrop looking thing? Yeah, it's one of those. Like you know that if you put this over a map, it will lead you somewhere.
Have I seen these kind of things before?
Yeah, they were used quite commonly among the aristocracy when they wanted to share information without it being obvious immediately.
So there's a thread map over here. And I'll pick it up and take it to Raziel.
This is, I think, going to be extra concerning to me because what is missing? I would have noted, and anybody paying attention in my home notices, there are not a whole lot of books. There are some books, but there's not a lot. But on one shelf, there are a handful of leather journals. And those journals are in disarray. They look like they've all been opened and flipped through. But what's missing from them is, in addition to the journals where most of it was annotating all of our adventures over the years, the one that's missing had maps of everywhere we've been. It was sort of like the map book compendium to the notes that Raziel's been taken or had been taken in his journals, which, just from the fact that this is a journal years in the making, and to have that be missing, but the fact that it's also comprised of maps and there's some sort of a map device here. Did you happen to hear what they were looking for?
I heard a little bit, but they were speaking some kind of demonic tongue. I don't know it. I caught a reference to Adelaide because it's a proper noun.
Do you think you could try to recreate what they said about Adelaide?
She will certainly try. I am just gonna make a straight int check for her to see how well it works.
Sure.
Okay, so she says something and it's not quite right. You know that she has gotten some details wrong, but from the sounds you were able to piece together something about her wanting that journal.
So, given everything that's going on, sounds like these Theliacs are trying to find Adelaide. And maybe there's something in your map book that says where she's at. Or maybe they've pieced together where she is, and
or
they
maybe
need the map of whatever place that is.
Or maybe they're trying to piece out where she is. That map journal. It doesn't only have everywhere we've been. There are drawings from my time in service to Adelaide. The state houses and palaces. Nothing terribly detailed, but it's not something that I would want in anybody's hands, and would not have thought it to be a problem up until recently. Is it, looking at this woven map device that Gelthor found, and knowing, being the sort of cartographer of my own maps, would it be possible for me to discern what this map device, like what specifically type of map or location or something that it was intended to be used with? Or is it sort of generic?
So between you and Gelthor, you know that you would lay it over a map of the city, that the red bead is going to show you where you should go, that the beads on either side of it, which are purple in color, indicate that it is a place that is underground, and the 3 green beads along the side tell you that this meeting is going to take place at 3 in the morning. It's an invitation.
So looks like we've got our evening plans figured out. What approximately what time of day would it be? You're talking about like early evening or late evening?
It was early evening when you started out. It is now almost night, full on.
Now, first question is, the mantises that we saw outside, was there anything odd or false about them?
They were definitely connected to magic.
Okay.
You mentioned there are praying mantises around as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was asking about.
There, oddly enough, are none in the apartment.
But they were on the building that the apartment is in.
Yeah, outside.
Do you think somebody's using these to scry?
They could be using them to scry, or they could just be potent enough that they attract their own likeness. It's never been my thing, but while I have uh, care in my house, I I have not sought to follow the ways of the Daravel. Fireflies prefer the magic of illusion, and I'm more into storm chasing.
And you hear a quiet chuckle in the back of your head at that. A kind of possessive one.
And for a moment, it doesn't make sense for the those I'm in conversation with, but and at least for the rest of the the day preceding, like there was no smiles or anything, and but Gelthor will smile and laugh on his own, so it kind of is coming across a little crazy to those of you in the apartment.
Neverest takes a step behind Raziel, unsettled by this.
Player DM question, just because it's been so long. Remind me, Neverest, were we trying to keep her completely out of sight?
You were just asked to keep her safe from the temple trying to claim her again.
Okay. All right. We've got somewhere we need to be. We know the time. We know the place. And it may be a few hours from now, but I'd rather get there ahead of time if we can and scope out the place so we can see who's coming and going, what's going on. In the meantime, and I'm going to walk outside to where the market stalls have been sort of overturned and stuff, and probably a couple stalls down from the faux stall that was concealing the entrance to my place is a woman stall who she sold like handmade capes and shawls and things like that. And I'm gonna just kind of pick through the debris and pick something that's in darker colors with a hood and give it to Neverest. Kind of doing the wrapping it around her shoulders and tying it off and pulling the hood over her head. I need you to go to the Tipsy Flagon.
That's it.
Okay. I need you to go to the Tipsy Flagon and find Yorick.
Okay.
You are to stay together, the two of you.
Okay.
But before you go,
tell Yorick,
sorry,
we need to find you. I would like you to find some of the others from the alley.
Okay.
Make sure everybody's safe.
We'll gather them up. We'll get them together. We'll make sure everyone gets through this.
you mentioned that some of the people who broke into Raziel's apartment were using magic.
Yeah.
Can you explain some of it to me? Tell me what it was they were doing.
Well, I have never seen a spell like this used before, but one of them got in, and when they did, they pushed their way through the door. They broke it, and then when they turned around, he held a hand up, and the door just picked up and came back on its hinges. I don't know if he was mending it or what that was, but it was unsettling. And that was just before the other ones stabbed Yorick.
I've seen mending done. It's typically, I'll hold up a couple of fingers. It's usually small things. It's not going to fix large holes or reattach a door.
Yeah, I'll take like a small pot and cast mending and right.
Oh no, it definitely wasn't that. It didn't feel anything like that either.
I'll nod. Thank you.
Well,
That's all I needed.
Did they actually see you in here?
No.
Good.
But
No,
yet
I'm
you
I'm
were
sure
able,
I would have gotten stabbed too if they had.
Do you
but you
think
were able to observe their magic?
I was watching them through the door until they got too close and I thought it was too much of a risk, and then I actually got behind the shower curtain.
when they stabbed Yorick,
Yeah.
did they deliberately attack him, or did they attack him because he was trying to defend this place?
The latter. He came charging at them first. They weren't supposed to be here. He asked them nicely first, and then they wouldn't leave.
Okay. They I think they came here looking for what they got, but they didn't expect anybody to be here. I think that means you may be a little bit safer. Nonetheless, stay in Yorick's shadow as much as you can. I mean that both literally and figuratively. We are going to We're going to see what all this means.
Okay. You'll meet us at the Tipsy Flagon later when you're done?
It will be quite some time because it is several hours before the expected meeting, and they'll be dealing with whatever that is, and then the travel back.
I wouldn't
It will
expect
take us time to find our friends, too.
I wouldn't expect us until morning, at least.
It may take us all night to track them down as well. So, first light. That's when we'll plan for.
And before she takes off, I'm just going to kind of stop for a moment, stand in front of her, and just, do the almost, I guess at this age would be almost grandfatherly, just kind of straightening the hood, maybe making sure it's a little bit more, putting her face in shadow, and then give her kind of an awkward, like, instead of a hug or anything, it's just like a pat on the shoulders. Stay safe.
You too. And she actually does hug you. She just like steps in, hugs you around the waist really quick, and then she's off.
As we, if we're heading to the location, we'll kind of look towards Gelthor and say, "What they did to that door sounds kind of like the time magic you were talking about, the Thaliak, which
Oh,
makes
that
sense with all these praying mantises about."
indeed. I just I don't know why. I am sure that there is another layer to this mystery that I'm just not connecting.
What would I know of? Trying to think of how to phrase this. So we've got all these houses.
Mhm.
These houses, for clarity's sake, these houses are like active houses, or is this like
No.
these are old houses that have? Okay, that's what I thought.
Former tiefling noble houses.
So-
It's from before the convergence.
So one. So then the question, the first part of my question is for the DM. What would I know of Adelaide's disposition towards the old houses?
Oh,
Of
she
'em?
was trying to get rid of them.
Okay, she was trying to get rid of them.
And she succeeded for the most part.
Okay. So then my next question / statement is for in character. We're seeing just in the last couple of days a sudden representation of the old houses. And the next thing I say, I kind of give Gelthor just a little bit of that stink eye still when I say this. And with learning of Adelaide still being out there, this can't be a coincidence.
No,
Now,
And
all of this sadly started as a catalyst with Tristan's daughter. So that's why I wonder if there was more to whatever she was doing. Are there clues that we have not seen or uncovered that she had?
I wonder if her being killed was intended to bring light to what's been happening in the shadows, or it inadvertently. Did somebody deliberately try to expose what's been going on under our noses? Or was it accidental, and now they're scrambling to accomplish whatever it is they're trying to accomplish now that eyes are on them, our eyes specifically? And I wonder, Gilthor, you were talking at the flagon about the dangers of approaching these various houses and what you know about them. You spoke very tactically about, in relation to what type of cautions we might need. Should we attempt to go face to face against these various houses?
Yeah.
I don't think a handful of old men trying to go face to face with a bunch of old houses is such a good idea. However, as with any house, if you really want to know what's going on, you find the people at the bottom. You find the valets. You find the carriage drivers, or the cooks, the maids, those that work for those in higher position in the houses. In these types of houses, where we're talking more about a social house, there are still people at the bottom of those houses, in the same way that some of the houses are ranked lower than the other houses. The people within each of the houses are lower. It might be more advantageous if we can find one of these valets or cooks, so to speak, or the equivalent of this. Somebody that might have a reason to expose what's going on higher up.
I think your logic is sound if we were talking about established houses. The scullion talk, the common folk of all of the houses would frequently tell secrets and do things to try to get one-ups and play their own little games. But we are thrust from power, torn asunder, and scattered and hunted, and who knows what else. If we could find where these remnants are hiding out, then it's probably just going to be trying to deal with them rather than try to, get some information from the scullery maid.
You know more about these houses than I do. I'll just say we keep our eyes open.
Of course, I'm not trying to say that your strategy is wrong. If we happen to find, Theliacs in a center of power, and it is more than, what we would be able to handle on our own, then sure, I say we use caution and do the best we can, but we certainly are not gonna. Well, not certainly. I would say it unlikely that any of these houses have enough power on their own to do any kind of grand design and to be back where there were plenty of servants at their beck and call.
I'm not necessarily talking of literal servants in this case either, Gelthor. But I hear your counsel and take it, and I will add to this. While we are investigating and while we are seeing what is happening with these houses, we should keep one eye on the shadows. If there are those who are actively trying to establish their house or actively trying to eliminate other houses, then there are those who are in the shadows waiting for those who are fighting to do the dirty work for them so that they can come in and scavenge what remains.
That is where the Belzanes will come in, because I'm certain that they're certainly looking to do that.
And
Sure.
definitely if we can get a hold of a Belzane that we can question, I want to know if serendipity was getting too close to something, or was in the way, or was just collateral damage.
It's possible that she, has a bloodline that was potent. Maybe one of these other remnants took her out before Theliac could use it to kind of claim more dominance. It has been years since, any of the houses have made any kind of rise, and yet, as we've stated, there's now sightings of these numerous houses where there has not been. I'm just worried as to what is going to happen.
Well, so far, our best lead seems to be this, and I'll hold up that map thing.
Well, I guess we set off and see what we can find.
So if you lay that band over a map of the city, you will find that the location it leads you to, excuse me, is near the northern part of the city. And when you go there, what you find is an old stone well with like kind of a wooden steepled roof over it to like keep the rain from falling in, and like one of those like buckets that you can wind down. And sitting along the lip of the well are several mantises. They all turn to look at you as you approach.
Well,
and you know you're in the right place.
so much for going in unnoticed.
Hello.
It sort of like weaves back and forth, like in an almost war dance for a moment before it darts and crawls down the well.
So I look down after. Does it remain a mantis, or has it changed into a person, or any along those lines?
It has remained a mantis. It climbs down the side of that wall until you can't see it anymore. The well goes down so far that it is pitch black at the bottom. And the other mantises seem to be following. They are leading you somewhere.
Well,
So this
I
looks
imagine
more.
that this.
Does this look?
Go ahead.
Sorry, Ted. Does this look more like they were waiting for us, and now that we're there, they're going, hey, okay, follow us, kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Well, this doesn't feel like a trap now, does it?
Do I say the line? I always expect everything's a trap,
Course.
which is why I'm still alive.
That that's about what I was saying.
So I imagine this well is not going to be big enough that I can't really stretch out my wings. So you know is this a ride the rope down? Are we climbing down the wall? What does this look like here?
That's up to you.
I was kind of asking the party.
Oh, sorry.
I imagine I weigh quite a bit. Climbing rope might be a bad idea with this. I don't know. How do we go about springing the trap in a way that turns the trap back on its makers?
I imagine there's a rock or something of some kind of weight up here,
Yes.
Robin.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll toss the rock down and try to gauge distance.
Before seeing that you're doing that, before you toss the rock,
Mm-hmm.
I will place my hand over the rock, and from behind my glasses, my eyes just briefly illuminate, and you see spilling out of my hand, almost like liquid, this white arcane energy seems to drip off my fingers, coat the rock, and a glow begins to emanate as I cast light on this rock. So we can not only gauge it by sound, we can gauge it by sight.
You can indeed. All right, so it's about 60 feet down, and you can tell at the bottom, now that it's all lit up, that there's sort of a hall down there. Like just a stone corridor. There was never any water in this well.
So,
Oh,
I can.
and little rungs that are like ladder-wise that you can use to climb
That's what I
down
was going
it.
to ask, if there was like a deliberate ladder, or are the stones set in a way that they're easily climbable. This definitely seems like this is a show well.
It is.
Right. All right. Well, that makes it that much easier. So I will, with that, I'll just step over the lip and begin climbing down the ladder.
All right. So you don't have to make any checks or anything to get down to the bottom. It's pretty well maintained, all things considered. And once you get down there, you notice that there is like a small army of praying mantises clinging to the walls down here. It's just like they are claustrophobically clustered along this corridor leading in a specific direction. The bottom though, where the rock fell, there are at least 4 tunnels leading out from here.
Is there a praying mantis that looks like it is waiting?
Yeah, just standing at the lip of the tunnel that has all the mantises congested into it.
I will go. I will go to that one and then turn back and look to my companions to see. Once they've caught up, I will then look at the mantis again and basically look at it expectantly.
And it will go on.
Explain what it's gonna do. Then I'll tell you.
It's just gonna lead you down the corridor.
I'm going to like I kind of draw from my remnants of my wheelchair like a sort of long rod with like these little wheels on it that sort of, it's almost like if a dowsing rod had a singular point that it could come from, and these kind of gears make the 2 different like bars of the rod split in certain ways, and this is the my wand of magic detection that I've made myself, and it works like a dowsing rod, but I can hold it one-handed. And I'm gonna kind of I gotta crank it. You gotta kind of turn some gears to get it sort of going, and that seems to kind of give like this little metronome tick noise very as lightly as it's kind of like
All right, I have to
trying
question
to detect
dousing
magic.
dowsing rods. It's a V that goes to a stick. So when you
Right.
said okay,
This is like the opposite of
one
that.
handed. Oh,
It
okay.
it's holding one handed. It just splits out in two sections.
Okay, so when you were like, "Oh, it's a dowsing rod, but only one handle," like, you mean like a stick?
Yeah, no, it's
It's one sided on both sides. That's a stick, dude.
it's the opposite of a structure of a dowsing rod. You hold it the other way.
Okay,
And
all
with the
right.
clicking, it's like
Now,
you've just created an arcane Geiger counter.
Kind of, yeah, absolutely. That is
now,
what it is.
now I'm less confused. I'm sorry for
Oh,
doubting you, but I'm like,
I appreciate the clarification because it means that like yeah, it is clear for me. Sure.
you mean like other people don't think you're stupid too?
I mean, no, that's not true. People are always going to think I'm stupid.
I digress. I apologize. Go on.
Hey, no worries. Magic Geiger counter. Let's go with that.
Woot.
So the mantis that you are following is explicitly magical. It's giving off a signature like someone is casting a spell through it, but the rest of them just seem to be perfectly mundane and only attracted to this area for some reason.
I imagine it makes like more noise, like the thing ticks faster and a little bit louder when there's magic around.
Mhm.
So it almost gives off that Geiger counter like radiation click.
So, Robin, I have to ask this question. With this
Yeah.
many mantises down here, um, does that give any kind of indication as to like a populace of tieflings? Is there any kind of representation of like when the houses were in power, what that would mean? Or is it just, oh well, there is no direct correlation. This is just an anomaly and whatever.
So they are drawn to the source of power that belongs to the house whose sigil that is. So there are either a lot of them down here or one very powerful practitioner. But when the houses were in the full swing of power, they didn't swarm like this. They would be spread out over the grounds of the entire house and not just clustered in one spot. So the fact that they are this congested is sort of a testament to how far you've all fallen.
Okay. And bizarrely enough, uh have I seen fireflies since I believe I'm the only Everall left.
Not a single one, but you also haven't been acting as an Arabelle. You've been acting as Gelthor.
Okay. I just curious.
Mhm.
So I turn to Raziel and Tristan. With this many mantises around, it is either a very large presence down here, meaning numbers, or someone who's got an awful lot of power.
Remember
Be
what I was
wary.
saying about trying to talk to the scullery maids and the valets? I
I'll
think
gesture to the guy who's leading us.
I think the master of the house just is about to present themselves.
Well,
I wasn't
let's see.
expecting to go right to the top, but here we are.
Yeah.
So the tunnel is a long one, and the mantises are not just on the walls, they're on the ceiling too, and they're moving, and like the sounds of their bodies touching each other is just that like insectoid overlap, that like rustle of chitinous body parts. And it gets a little thinner toward the end, and so you have to go single file through the door, but it leads into a cistern. And in this room, there are 4 areas where there's standing water, and it's a little bit gross, but at least it doesn't smell in here. And then in the middle, a small table, and sitting across from each other, 2 tieflings, both male, matching the description that Neverus gave you. One of them turns his head to look at you as you enter, and he gestures for you to come closer. There are clear steps up to the dais where they're sitting and enough chairs for all of you to sit if you want.
Any more magic anything coming from this room?
Both of the men are definitely like wearing magical items on their person, and toward the back of the room where there's another door that you almost wouldn't have noticed if you hadn't had detect magic on, you get a little bit of a click response from that too. There's a pole there.
Okay.
So clearly you were expecting us.
We have many reasons to want to speak to you, and he lets his eyes fall on Treston in particular. I believe you and I have a common interest.
Well, it would have been far better and far more polite to just kind of approach and have a conversation before ransacking my friend's place.
Yes, that was unfortunate.
Hold up my wand.
So what
Put it
has
back.
transpired to allow you to see such wisdom in such a short amount of time since you took the action?
I wasn't intending to ransack it. When we came in, we were attacked and we didn't think we had much time to look.
You could have knocked upon the door and not got an answer and waited until he arrived rather than force your way in.
I suppose that was a possibility.
Uh,
Give me insight.
Sure. Oh, I'm actually fairly decent at this. How do you feel about a 21?
He's trying to make it sound like he's listening to you, but in reality, the things you're saying are the concerns of the common people, and he's not that concerned about the common people.
Okay. So you take me for a fool.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Well, you did not say them. Your actions did. You have presented that you wish to have a conversation through rudeness, through aggression.
So I take it you don't want to know what Serapeth knew.
Yes, we would. But again, you set the conversation off on a very poor tone.
Consider me thoroughly chastised. What do you want in recompense?
Well, I turn to Raziel. You have injured this man's servant or friend, ransacked his place, taken his possessions. Raziel, what is adequate recompense for this man's actions?
I want my journal back. Anything beyond that, if necessary.
Let me copy a page from it first and you'll have it.
Again, as Gelthor said, it would have been better to ask. What are you copying?
That's part of the larger story. If you would, please have a seat.
Oh, this ought to be interesting. By all means. Once upon a time,
there was a young tiefling who got in a little bit over her head and found herself among estranged relatives. But she was in the middle of sticking her fingers into something that she probably ought to have left alone. Fortunately for us, unfortunately for her, more unfortunately than fortunately, she was right. I am not sure how you're going to take this news, but we have reason to believe that Saint Adelaide might still live.
Okay.
You don't look shocked by that.
We're not.
All right, so you know. Anybody tried to kill you for it yet?
We've had our share of troubles.
Are you saying that's what my daughter knew, and that's what got her killed?
Yes.
Okay, so for a moment, I definitely look back at Gelthor and Raziel because I have been like kind of moving slower towards the table, and I look disgusted.
So,
Right.
all right. So you know that she's digging into things. Who's the trigger man? What party did not want her revealing this?
That's the only part I'm missing. I was hoping you knew.
Now, there are several things at play that have happened recently that have begun to stir. But honestly, with the little information that she left to us, I we actually believed you were one of the culprits. Not maybe not necessarily yourself, but the remnants of your house.
He shakes his head. No, I'm fairly certain she was my sister's daughter. We didn't want to lose her in the first place, let alone what happened. We were trying to reestablish contact. She's one of us. She has access to the family magic. She could tap that if she wanted. She could have been powerful.
And when she sought you out,
She
who
didn't.
turned her away?
No one turned her away. We found her. She was learning. She was willing. We were in contact. I was following her investigation because she told me pieces of it. It was in exchange for help. I have her notes, her case files, if you
There
would
was a
like
mis
them.
there is a misstep somewhere, but anything that was hers, I am certain that her father would have just to have as something of hers, let alone trying to uncover and bring to justice those responsible.
He looks to Tristan.
Tristan looks very pissed. I think Raziel would notice more than anyone else that like Tristan's reaching that boiling point, and if things go too much further, he's gonna do something stupid. If you have anything of my daughter's, just give it here, and we can be on our way.
And he gestures to the man on the other side of the table who gets up and like walks into the back where you saw that magic point coming from earlier. And he comes back with a box and sets it on the table. And it's like a big wooden crate box, like the kind that you would find like on the dock, maybe with fish in it, but there are no fish in it. It's stacks of notebooks and a little amulet nestled among the pages. That is what is making your Geiger counter go off.
Okay. I'll I'll pick it up and kind of see if I recognize it.
It's the sigil of the House of the Mantis. It has the engraving in it, and if you turn it over, her name is on the back, and you recognize her handwriting. She put that on there herself.
I'm gonna close my fist around it, and then stuff it into a pouch.
Does this mean That we can count Theliac as an ally.
As long as you'll accept my apology for stabbing your ward.
Well, you was an ally.
I
Your family's the damn reason why my daughter got caught up in all of this. She's the reason. You're the reason why she's dead.
We're her family.
No, I am her family. I raised her. I was there the whole time. Where were you? Where were any of you?
Regrettably, we didn't. Everything fell apart. I don't know what became of my sister. I didn't even know. We didn't know to look for her. But it seems like she was safe, and it seems like that's because of you. So whether you believe me or not, we are deeply grateful for that.
Have you read through any of these journals?
I've tried. She's written them in code. She was going over some of it with me. I've cracked a little bit of it. I've got my notes in there. Maybe someone's smarter than I am.
Out of kind of frustration and very unsure of what to do, I'm gonna snatch one of the journals up and kind of open it to a random page.
Tristan, you taught her this cipher. You can read it without even having to look at anything.
I yeah, figured it was something along those lines.
So it's 3 pretty dense books, and what she's done here, she's taken it like a commonplace book. She has made notes all over these pages in the margins. She's got lists of things. Every once in a while, you'll find like a flyer that's been pulled off a wall and just pasted in onto one of the pages. There are a couple that like fold out and like show whole charts of information. It's going to be a lot to pour over, but what sticks out to you immediately is that her handwriting is like small and cramped like it gets when she's really focused down on something. She was excited about this. She was getting close to answers, and you've seen her like that before. Like you can just imagine the smile on her face as she was scrawling this.
Also, she gets that small handwriting from Simon. My handwriting gets large and sloppy when I get excited. Is there anything in there from a quick glance that would give Tristan any reason to trust? Oh gosh, no, Theliac, to trust that family.
So she does have notes on their magic in her journals, and they're interspersed throughout the notes on the case she was working on. She was learning from them, but give me insight.
Okay, I'm not.
With advantage, this is your daughter.
All right, all right. That would be a 15.
She never intended to stay. She was going to learn it and then go use it for her own purposes.
Okay. As I'm kind of looking this over, I'll kind of nod and I can read this. I can break this cipher easy enough.
I was hoping that would be the case.
I bet you are.
I was. Someone deserves some payback for this, and I don't care if I'm not the one to deliver it, but it needs to be done.
All right.
In my
You'll
journal.
get them, won't you?
Of course we will.
So, answer me this. The research you did into Adelaide, figuring out that she was alive, did she do that before or after she met you?
Both. When we found her, she was on the trail. And when she mentioned that name, we knew we needed to get involved.
Right.
To what end?
You were one of her little sycophants, weren't you?
We traveled together for some time, yes.
You won't like my answer.
You wanted to put her down.
Yes.
Seems obvious. She hated the houses. She kept them at bay.
She
With her
hated the
gone, the houses
city.
can come back.
You don't know the half of what she was up to.
No, I don't care for the half of it. She was never one of my. I was never one of her followers.
We had reasons, and it wasn't just being deposed.
Right.
But you'll forgive me if I'm not willing to say anything that is likely to anger you again.
Oh, the battle for Adelaide is your thing. I'm here to figure out who killed my daughter and get revenge on that.
And in this, at least, we are uncomplicatedly allies. So, can we at least agree to get to the bottom of this? He says, holding his hand over the crate that he just handed over, and then pulls it back without touching anything. And then whatever comes next comes next.
I can agree that I will help you get to the bottom of this. And then, hopefully, we'll never have to see each other again.
We'll see. And he's going to look at Gelthor.
Yes.
Just checking in.
I don't know what to make of you. I've been in a miserable state for many a year. I feel like crap. I probably look worse. And yet, I still have enough knowledge or sense in my head. If I want to have a conversation, I don't start off by making trouble. Especially when the people involved are dealing with grief and capable of the carnage that we are.
I needed that book, and I wasn't sure I would be able to get it from you, given all of the gory details. You were followers of Adelaide.
Is your life worth whatever that one page is?
Yes. Because it is more than me.
Is
Yeah.
is that journal with the maps? Is that anywhere in sight?
Yeah, it's like, the door's still open. You can see it on the shelf back there. It's the only thing on the shelf back there anymore.
I'm glad you think so. Most of our houses are fallen to dregs. And I would have no problem removing one last dreg just for the audacity of what you've done.
When you manage to pull yourself out of the gutter, I'll be afraid of that threat.
I will call forth my spear from the whatever the bonded thing and just give it a quick thrust in his general direction. Like I'm not trying to hit him, but just enough of a bravado to show that I'm more than capable of holding my own.
He stays mostly composed, but he leans back when you do, like he did believe you would stab him.
So, had it been 2 weeks ago, I would have just been a pool on the ground. But I'm not what I was. And piss me off again. And I'll choose between and I'll just let some of the magic crackle in my hands as I'll call forth some lightning and a cantrip. Or who knows, maybe I'll draw it out and allow Nareen to just visit some continuous mischief upon you and yours.
Presumptuous of
am
you to
more.
allow your goddess to do anything.
I didn't say anything about allowing. I said to call forth. I am in no fit to deal with the insults and the problems. You want to have a conversation, talk.
Give me intimidation with advantage.
That's going to be a 15.
He nods once. If there is further contact, it will be made amicably. No more break-ins. You have my word.
If you two are done measuring your dicks against each other,
Not yet.
I'm taking
We'll
my
do
book.
it.
I'm going to walk over and grab my journal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to turn to the page, or rather, I guess not knowing which one they want exactly. I'm going to put it on the table, so that they can see it. Which map?
He flips through it, turns to a certain page, and then he gets out a blank parchment.
I
It
don't
is
even
a map.
I don't even let him start to draw. As soon as he shows which map it is, I tear it out of the book. I drew it from memory. I can draw it again. You touch any of my things again, well, Gilthor's already told you what he's going to do.
And he's just staring at you like he did not at all expect that you were going to do that and is not sure what he's going to do now. Like you've absolutely rattled this man. He's just like looking at you like you are not what he expected you to be in the slightest.
See, we're reasonable folks. You can have a conversation with us. Hopefully we all learned a thing here, and we can move forward as allies.
Sure.
Look at Raziel and Gelthor and say, anything else?
I turn and start walking away,
I have
hoping that one of you is going to carry the crate because that's not my thing.
Oh, I'm carrying the crate.
as they start to walk away, and I just look at this man with the map that I've given him. There was a time that I would have paid York's blood back. Don't give me a reason. And as I turn to walk away, I have a question again. It's the most questions for the DM in one session. Given what we've learned,
Yes.
holding that up against the revelation of the houses and Seraph's association and apparent lineage with the Theliacs, and their stance against Adelaide, and Adelaide's stance against the houses, and my fanatical devotion to Adelaide.
Mm-hmm.
Would I have, from the time before when she was alive, any knowledge of, even just cursory knowledge of what, at that time, what she had in mind? Like, what were her political aspirations or her ultimate goals? Like, maybe not necessarily like I know her whole playbook, but is there anything that I can think back on that might give me a little more insight into these factions pitted against one another?
I'm gonna have you roll insight because she didn't tell you flat out. She told Gelthor a lot of things. You know that they had a lot of private conversations and that she was very forthcoming with him. But she had everybody else on a need-to-know basis. But you were still around her a lot, and you know how to read people. So give me an insight check. Give it to me with advantage because you paid extra attention to this person.
Oh, good, because that first roll was a 2. The second roll was an 18, so that's a 19 on insight.
Okay.
Nice.
You have a bit more of an understanding than most that she did have it in her to be incredibly manipulative. And it wasn't a personal hatred for the houses. They were just in her way. She couldn't have them in charge and also open the convergence point to let the mana flood back into the world again.
With this knowledge and sort of weighing as I follow after Tristan and Gilthor, holding back, just that few extra feet, I think some of the thoughts that are going through my mind is I'm going to have to, as this unfolds, it's like I'm mentally placing, in addition to the mystery of Serendipity's death and this figure that Klaus is tracking down, and our involvement with Hasid and Klaus, Tristan and Gilthor, they're all being placed on the scales together. And in my mind, I'm realizing that I'm going to have to figure out where I stand as this begins to shake out. And I don't know. This is my internal monologue, is realizing for the first time there is a possible scenario in which I could find myself not aligned with my friends.
So you guys take all your booty back to the tipsy flagon. You've got the journals, you've got your journal back, you've got that amulet, and an arsenal of new information. Morning comes, you meet all your neighbors. It seems like nobody got killed or anything. They were pretty easy to round back up. And everyone disperses to get some rest. Gelthor, your dreams are of the ocean, and that is all you dream of that night. But when you wake, there is a blinking firefly on your windowsill. And that is where I'm going to cut you off for the night.
Very cool.
Right.
I would like to just put out just a little thing in terms of
Absolutely.
the alley and all of the people that were disrupted from this whole thing, that without any hesitation, I would dip into my personal stash of funds to make sure that everybody has what they need to get back on their feet, repair, their damaged stalls and everything. Probably doing it by proxy through Uric. But I very much see that because they were coming to my place, the people that got hurt because of me. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Take a point of inspiration for that, because people don't usually consider the NPCs to that degree.
All right.
Also,
that's why Gelthor was kind of like being a bitch to those guys. Is like, look, they need to pay restitution. He's like, I just want my book back, and I'm like, come on, man.
I can't help but, and I almost called this out, and I got sidetracked by something else, but the irony that the most level-headed person in that room was the barbarian.
That's why I love the dynamics of this party. The anger out of the artificer and the cleric are far heavier than the barbarian. It's just glorious.
Well, Tristan definitely makes sense, because it's his daughter that was, not only was she the one that was killed, but now there's other people claiming familial ownership of her.
Yeah.
And Gelthor, it turns out when you're off the sauce, you've got quite the inner fires burning in your
Look, I
in your
mean,
soul.
you lean into misery sometimes, and that's just how you gotta get through. You guys probably know that as a tiefling, when I was traveling with you guys, he would have moments of anger issues and what have you, but for the most part, like, he was fun and whatnot. But storms come in all varieties, so sometimes you gotta just you gotta bring that lightning and thunder.
I couldn't. I was internally cracking up when you were talking to him, and you're like, 2 weeks ago, I would have been a mess on the floor. Look, I've got a headache. I'm recovering from this. I've got the DTS. You were being a stereotypical old man whining about his aches and pains to whoever will listen as you're trying to get across your point.
As I'm telling him that I'm gonna kick his ass if he gets out of line.
You're like, look, I may have hemorrhoids the size of a dodgeball, but I'm still gonna kick your ass.
Oh my gosh. We
Oh,
need to have
man.
a lineup of insults just
And
like that.
I'll say, I want to say too, this was an amazing session, knowing that, Robin, at the last minute, that you had to pivot from what you had planned.
Oh, I'm planned like 3 games ahead. I was just grabbing plot points from like next month's session. I'm just switching them around.
That's fine.
All right, so
fit
with
weather.
that, please pay attention to the links in the description below, where you can find all of these wonderful people when they're not over here. I'll say this: this will be the first time it's going to be said on stream, but we're closing in on the end of our Zoo Mafia campaign of Blood Moonshine, and thereafter. The long-awaited return. We are going to be returning to Dungeons and Delving
Whoop.
Season 2 to finally figure out what happened to our illustrious adventurers at the end of that one. So we got 2 more episodes of Zoo Mafia, and Bobby's campaign will wrap up. We usually do a week off to kind of collect ourselves. So we're only about 3-4 weeks away from me getting back in the saddle as the DM and bringing some Dungeons and Delving. So I'm really looking forward to it. I got a whole lot of notes and things that I've already been hard at work on. Player characters are getting all excited to return to the forefront. So until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.